Hello everyone! In this lesson we will learn more about custom queries. In particular, we will learn how to control the way that the retrieved or queried posts get ordered or sorted. The topic will make more sense once we dive into an example, so let's do that right now. On our home page, let's focus on the upcoming events. At the moment, the ordering of these two posts is controlled by their published date. The ones that I authored and created the most recently show up on top. But what if instead we wanted to sort the posts alphabetically by their title? Or we wanted them to be ordered randomly on every page refresh? Or better yet, we wanted to order them by their event date? Well, all of that and more is possible. Custom queries are super flexible. So to learn more about this, let's jump into our text editor. And within your theme folder, I want you to jump into frontpage.php. And the first real bit of PHP we see in this file is right here, and this is our custom query. At the moment, we only have two arguments. So we're saying give us two posts, and only give us posts that are of the post type event. But we can add another argument, so maybe add a comma here and then new line. And we can use the parameter named order by, and now we can control the ordering of the posts. By default, this is set to post date, meaning the date that the post was created or published. So if we saved this, we wouldn't see any difference because this is already the default behavior of WordPress. But we could change this to title, and then WordPress will order the posts alphabetically by their title. Now before we save this, why don't we change posts per page from 2 to -1? -1 is our way of telling WordPress, just give us all posts that meet these conditions. Right? So instead of setting this to 5 or 10 or 100, if you just set it to -1, that will return everything that meets your query all at once. In just a few minutes, we can switch this back to 2, so our homepage design falls back into place, but I think this will be fun to experiment with. So if we save that, you can see that I've only created 3 total event posts, but more importantly, notice the ordering of them. They are now in reverse alphabetical ordering, and that's because we set order by to title. Now you might be wondering, why are they in reverse alphabetical instead of just alphabetical? Well, to answer that, let's add on another argument here, and let's use the parameter named order. By default, this is set to descending, right? Because if we think of WordPress's default behavior of showing the most recently published posts first, really what's going on there is it's showing the post with the largest date number. But if we want to sort by title alphabetically, we don't want descending order, we want ascending order. So if we save that, cool, now they are in true alphabetical order. And if instead you wanted them to be in a random order every time you refreshed the page, we could just change order by to rand for random. Cool, so now they switch every time you reload the page. You get the idea. Except that's not what we want. Nor do we want to sort them alphabetically. What we really want is to sort them by their event date, right? If you think about it, upcoming events really just means the events with an event date that is closest to today's date. Now, before we go ahead and learn how to sort by a custom field value, I first want to make sure that our test data and experiment make sense. Let me show you what I mean. So if we set order by back to its default value of post_date, I didn't do this intentionally, but when I set the event dates for my 3 example posts, they already sort of look like they are in order, right? June 29th, June 30th, July 20th. And that wasn't by design, that was just random luck. So right now what I'm going to do, and feel free to follow along, I'm going to go in and edit the event date for this Science of Cats event and set its event date way farther in the future, so that way we can clearly see that these are not in any sort of event date ordering yet. So in my admin, go into events, the Science of Cats, And I'll set its event date to sometime in September, way out in the future. Okay, so now if I refresh, cool. So now we can clearly see that these are not being ordered by their event date. At the moment, they're being ordered by their published or created on date. And remember, we set the order to ascending instead of descending. So that's why we see the most recently created post down at the bottom. But let's get back to our real goal. If this is truly upcoming events, we want to order things by the event date, our custom field. So let me show you how to do that. For our order by value, instead of post date or title or rand for random, instead let's set this to meta underscore value. You're probably wondering what meta means. In WordPress, metadata is all of the extra or custom additional data associated with a post. So we're saying we want to order things by the value of a piece of metadata. In this case, a meta or custom field. Now, if you set the order by to meta value, you need to be sure to add on another parameter named meta key. And this is where we spell out specifically the name of the custom field that we're interested in. So obviously, remember the name of the field is event underscore date. Now, I do want to point out that meta value is how we tell WordPress that we want to order by a meta key, and meta value is well suited if you're sorting letters and words. But in this case, since we're going to be sorting numbers, right? A date is just a set of numbers. Instead of meta value, let's use meta value underscore num as in number. Okay, so with this new custom query in place, let's go ahead and save this and check out the website. Cool, so we can see the September one that's way in the future gets moved down to the bottom, and all three events are now correctly ordered by their event date. However, our job here is not yet complete. While it's true that we are ordering from the oldest event date to the most futuristic event date, what would happen once an event date is in the past? So for example, as I'm filming this, what if the current date today was July 1st? Well, in that case, we wouldn't want to show this event, right? This is upcoming events. So we want to hide or not even query in the first place events that took place in the past. Now, before we learn how to write the code to filter out event dates from the past, let's first make sure that we have at least one test item. So right now, I'm going to go edit Math Meetup and set its event date back to sometime in 2016, just to prove my point. So Math Meetup, and let's set the event date back to 2016, June 1st. Okay, so clearly this event has no business showing up under upcoming events. So how can we write code in our custom query to filter out past events? The answer is that we need to use something called a meta query. So check this out. Let's add another argument. So comma, new line, and the parameter is meta underscore query, and then we're going to set that to equal an array. Within the array parentheses, I like to drop down to a new line, and the reason we give meta query an array is because we are allowed to give it multiple conditions or things to check for. So what I'm about to type is gibberish. You do not need to type this, but for example, we could say only retrieve posts where the day is the 5th day of the month. And we could combine that with another filter. We could say only show us posts where it's the 4th month of the year. And we could filter on another filter, only in a certain year. So you get the idea. You can string together multiple filters or things that you're checking for. So that's our top level array that we're giving meta query. But then each one of those things that we're checking for should be an array of its own. I know this is getting confusing, but stick with me. Basically, what I'm asking you to do is nest one array inside another array, right? So maybe in this one we say only show us events from the 5th day of the month. And then we have another array that says only from a certain month or a certain year. Now in our case, we only need one inner array, right? Because we only need to check for one thing. We want to say only return posts if the event date is greater than or equal to today's date, right? Because that would mean the event is on today or in the future. We don't want to show any past events. So within our inner array, you know me, I like to drop down to a new line in between the parentheses. And we just need to give this inner array a few key parameters. So the first one is key, and let's set that to equal just x as a temporary placeholder. We will circle back to that in just a few seconds. Let's also give it another parameter named compare. Set that to equal a temporary placeholder as well. And for now, the final parameter is value. So now we just use these three parameters to basically create a sentence in plain English that makes sense. So let's say only give us posts if the key is the custom field, so only if event date is greater than or equal to, right? That's our comparison operator for compare. So on this line, we'll say greater than or equal to today's date, right? So today is the value that we are looking for. Now in PHP, a very easy way to get today's date, the current date, is just to call a PHP function named date, and then you tell it what kind of format you want to return. So uppercase Y for year, and then lowercase m and d for the month and day representations. Now this line of code will work, but I think it would be cool if we could literally say value equals today, right? Then anyone can look at that line of code and understand what it means. So let's go ahead and set the value parameter to look for the value of a variable named today. And then maybe up here on a new line right above our custom query, let's just create that variable named today and set it to equal the date function of PHP and tell it to return uppercase Y, lowercase md. As I'm filming this, it's the 28th of June of 2017, so this would return 2017-06-28. And that's the same date format that our custom field stores the date as. Cool, so altogether in plain English, only show us posts where the event date is greater than or equal to today's date. Now this code will work, but it never hurts to tell WordPress what type of values you're going to be comparing. So why don't we go ahead and add one more parameter here named type, and let's set that to equal numeric, right? Because we are comparing numbers. Okay, now before I save this, we will know if it works as soon as I save it. This June 1st item should disappear, right? Because it's in the past. So let's save this code, jump back to the website. Perfect. That event is gone. And that's actually going to bring this lesson to a close. I know this example was oddly specific, right? Dealing with the past, present, and future. And if you didn't understand this specific example 100%, that's okay. I primarily just wanted to introduce you to this idea of ordering by something other than the published on date, right? We are ordering by a custom field. And then the other takeaway point for this lesson is that we can use meta queries to really have fine-grained control over searching for particular values. These are big concepts that we are going to practice and use again and again as we build out the programs, professors, and campuses portions of the website. In our next lesson, we will take a look at the Events View All Archive screen, and we will make sure that this screen also doesn't show events from the past. We will also learn how to create a separate page entirely named Past Events that only shows events from the past. Should be a lot of fun. Let's keep things rolling, and I will see you then.